Hello, and welcome back to the Remade Life Podcast. Took a little needed summer break, and now we're back for the fall season of the Remade Life Podcast. I say that like it's a TV show. Maybe one day. Little secret fantasy of mine is I've always wanted to have my own reality TV show, but I just don't think that my life is quite interesting enough to warrant a reality TV show. I mostly just like to be at home. Maybe one day. Anyways, so let's catch up. How are you all? I'm doing mostly okay. Thanks for asking. Summer was hot. There was like 1 or 2 weeks in July that were like just overwhelmingly hot and humid in North Carolina. But also, if you were on my email list for the weekly Remade Journal, you know that my summer was hot with emotions. My goodness. We have a lot to catch up on. Also, if you're not on my email list, what are you doing? Make sure that you subscribe to the weekly Remade Journal. That is where I most often share the more personal, like innermost thoughts and feelings, usually before I ever do on social media. So if you're ever curious about what's going on inside of my brain, make sure you subscribe. So I'll link the link to subscribe. I'll put the link in the description for the show notes, so you can check it out and subscribe to the weekly Remade Journal. Okay, so this episode I had planned for it to be more of like a catch-up episode, some life and health updates, but of course it's me, so there's a teaching moment in here somewhere. So let's start with the updates. Since the last episode in the spring, first I officially marked the 1 year of being at my studio. Hooray! It's so crazy to think that I took a chance on opening this studio like even before I had my massage therapy license. I just took the risk. And then shortly after I opened the studio, that is when I got sick with kidney inflammation. So I didn't even really start seeing clients here until late September, early October. So I'm just now at like a year of seeing clients here. So we hit a year in June and we have survived. We have survived in many ways through the last year. And then early summer, had a follow-up with rheumatology. And I basically went in there with this plan of I'm getting off of these Benlysta injections. And it worked. My rheumatologist agreed, which is a reminder to you that you are in charge of your treatment plan and your doctor works for you. Remember, you pay them. They work for you. But the caveat here is that you must first be in charge of your well-being outside of your doctor's office. And I've actually been thinking about doing a separate episode on what that means and what it means to be in charge of your well-being before being in charge of your treatment plan. So I'm going to just decide right now. We're going to do an episode on that. So that'll be an episode later in the season. What does it mean to be in charge of your well-being before being in charge of your treatment plan? The reason that in the past, the times that I have suggested getting off of medication, it has worked because my doctor trusts me, because I am in charge of my well-being outside of my doctor's visits. And he knows that I take ownership over my well-being in between my visits. And so that is an important part of being in charge of your treatment plan and having a good connection and relationship with your medical provider. So another episode on that coming, because I know I'll start talking and we'll get off into the deep end of that. So what else? Summer. Oh, we played ultimate frisbee this summer, and it was my first time playing ultimate frisbee, and I really sucked at it. I haven't run like that since high school soccer, and I'll just tell you, I was not voted team captain this summer. I honestly didn't even know like the rules of the game before going out there. I was just running around, and I mean, I will say I was pretty good at the defense because I was like, all right, I have a target. I'm just gonna follow this person around, just chase them around, and make sure they don't get the frisbee. And I was like, that seems simple enough, but on offense, I was like, please don't throw me the frisbee. Well, I mean, I would run around and try to be open. But I think my like manifesting of like, don't throw me the frisbee worked because I didn't get thrown the frisbee very much this summer. I am signed up for the fall league. So we just started our fall league a couple weeks ago, and I played last week, and people did throw me the frisbee. So I'm getting better, but it's a new experience for me. And I just gave myself the advice that I give all my clients: let yourself suck. Let yourself suck at first. Like, you have to let yourself suck at something long enough that you get better. You have to stick to it. But this summer was just not really long enough for me to get better. But I had a lot of fun playing, I will say. Like, it was really fun to be out there. I played with my husband, and it was just like cool to like get out there and like kind of feel like an athlete again. So yeah, tried something new. And speaking of being like an athlete again, we are also training for a half marathon. We are running the Outer Banks half marathon in November, and we have been slowly, and I mean very slowly, training for it. So between playing Ultimate and training for this half, your girl is tired. Oh, but like running has been such an experience for me this season. You all know me. I'm a strength training girly, so running of any kind is not in my wheelhouse. I did run a half marathon in 2018, a long time ago, and then the Tar Heel 10 miler in 2023, which was a fun experience, but like I woke up sick the day of the race, so the race itself was like not my best. I just don't love running. I'm learning to appreciate it. I think when I go through seasons of like training for a running race, which is not often, I do come to appreciate it because I like feel the progress. So that's kind of cool. But just coming off of the last year though, it has just been such a humbling experience because more often than not, it feels like I'm still running and I'm still recovering from the kidney inflammation hospital stay of last year instead of feeling like I'm training to be an athlete. Like, it is just very hard, I will say that. So I've really had to manage my expectations when it comes to my training schedule and my running pace. However, at the same time, I recognize that I am literally training for a half marathon, just being a year out from that horrendous medical experience of last year. So, I mean, it is a pretty big deal to be where I am in such a short period of time. Like I always tell my clients, measure your healing in terms of years and not like weeks or months. It just takes time. Your body needs time to heal and recover, especially from really big chronic flare-ups. So I know I need to give myself grace. It's just always that constant battle. Like if you struggle with like, you know, I'm not where I used to be or I'm not where I'd like to be, we all do. So give yourself some grace. I know I'm working on giving myself grace with my training and managing my expectations of like where I want to be versus like meeting my body where it's at. So, you know, my training schedule hasn't gone as perfectly planned. I haven't exactly followed the plan perfectly. I've had to manage and just like adjust as needed. So always listen to your body no matter what you're doing. So this brings me back to all the medication stuff. Just in terms of like being really proud of myself about where I am a year later. So I did get off the Benlysta injections, as I mentioned. I took the last one like beginning of July. I didn't have any side effects coming off of it. I honestly haven't noticed a difference of being off, on the injections versus being off, which I think is a good thing. And the plan was to be off of the injections for 3 months and then reevaluate with the rheumatologist. I was a little worried about 3 months, 12 weeks felt like a really long time, because of course it's well, what if something starts to happen and we don't catch it? But I was based on last year's experience, I think I'll know. Now that I know what that experience was if something starts to go wrong, I'm familiar with that feeling now. And thankfully, though, I had I had a nephrology follow-up with a kidney doctor kind of at the 6-7 week mark, so kind of halfway through. And we checked my kidney function and the inflammatory markers, and things were looking all good. It was nice to see all my labs coming back and things being in the green. So it made me feel better to have a little halfway check-in. And then last week I did have the 12-week follow-up with my rheumatologist. And this time I went in with a plan of getting off of the other immunosuppressant that I was on, the azathioprine. So the plan was in July, get off of the Benlysta. 3 months later, in September now, check if things are good. And if things are good, then we get off of the azathioprine and then just stay on the maintenance drug, Plaquenil. And so I went in with that plan, and my doctor was let's do it. Pending labs, of course, but everything continues to look good. So it's a huge win. And just a year later, I'm back down to one medication. So a year ago, I was on 7 different types of medications, most of which I was I don't even know what this does, right? But it was just part of the treatment protocol, and I wanted to trust my doctors, even though I really didn't after that experience of having an allergic reaction to one of the medications. But you have to keep trusting that your body knows what it's doing. You have to trust that your body will let you know if something's not right, and you keep moving forward. And but here we are a year later. I mean, the original plan was for me to be on all the big medications for at least 18 months to 2 years. And here we are just a year later, and I'm off all the big medications and just on the maintenance drug. So it's a big deal, and I'm really proud of myself. I'm really proud of my body. And I over the summer when I was I'm getting off of Benlysta injections, I knew it was coming. I knew people were going to be sending me DMs of how did you do it? And it's just I don't have a single way to answer that. A lot of it too is because of my imposter syndrome about talking about emotions and the mind-body connection, which sounds silly to say out loud, because sometimes when my Facebook memories pop up, I'm oh wow, I've really been talking about this mind-body emotions things for years at this point. And it is so interesting how I still feel an imposter when I talk about it. I'm not qualified to talk about it. And I mean, with good reason, because I don't have a mental health professional license. So it's not necessarily in my scope of practice, which I'm not guiding anyone through mental health therapy. I'm just saying, hey, consider this. And so it does become hard for me to give someone a blueprint, also because everyone's body is so different that it is hard for me to say do X, Y, and Z and expect your body to respond in the exact same way that mine did. And so it just becomes a very long conversation, and getting off of medication is such a personal thing that should be discussed between you and your medical provider. So it's not that I don't want to answer people about how did I get off of Benlysta injections. It's just that the way that I did may not necessarily work for you. So I hesitate to give that response to people. But if you really want to know, I really attribute the past year of a lot of the emotional healing that I have done, and the getting really honest about where my emotional health was, what things were still upsetting to me, what things I was still holding on to, and really working through that, doing all of the inner work, the work that we all like to avoid, of really truly understanding and getting to know ourselves, and how that plays out in our behavior and our lifestyle, and changing what needs to change and addressing what needs to be addressed. And it is super uncomfortable, and it is exactly part of why I had such a emotionally hot summer. But the evidence is there, people. I don't know what else to say of I'm just lucky. No, I've done a hell of a lot of work over the last year, and I, with full confidence, can say I very much deserve to be off of those Benlysta injections, because I worked really hard and I stayed really disciplined to get there. And yes, I strength trained. Yes, I paid attention to my nutrition. Yes, I hydrated, focused on getting good sleep, and all of those things are super, super important. But I will dare say not quite as important as doing the inner work, changing what needs to change. I'm pretty sure I can't even remember what episode it was, where I talked about it, about how none of the outer things are going to work if you don't address what is going on the inside. Okay, I realize I'm getting off on a tangent about this, so I'm going to keep going, but I will find that episode and link it in the show notes as well. Anyways, I will say one of the main reasons why I was so happy to get off Benlysta is because I was just so tired and fed up dealing with a Credo pharmacy. Oh my goodness. I don't have the energy to get into how terrible they are, but I just don't ever want to deal with that company again, that pharmacy. I really thought I was going to have to check in with preschool Daniela and fight somebody. I was a little bit of a scrapper in preschool. But glad to be done with the Credo pharmacy and Benlysta injection. So let's move on. Okay, back to the emotionally hot summer. I know that's why you're all here. I know you want to know what was going on. What was the tea on the summer that was so dang hot? A lot of things. And I don't really know if how much detail I want to dive into all of it. Not because I don't want to share with you all. I love sharing, and I'm an open book if you ask me. But I think sometimes things are just still too soon, and I always seek to share from a place of value. And I think the things that I'm still working through, I'm still learning, and a lot of things are still very much open wounds right now. And I'll be honest, a part of healing does require very radical responsibility for yourself, and I'm just tired. I'm tired of taking responsibility, because I have already in so many ways for my health and my emotions, and I'm just I'll be honest, I'm just in my petty era. I'm just no, you take responsibility. So the only value I can provide right now is let yourself be in your petty era if you need to, which is not great advice, but that's where I am right now, and I'll be open about it. My healing journey through kidney inflammation really brought a lot of light on how much sadness I was still holding on to from my childhood, specifically around how my big emotions were handled in my family. And I realized that I took on this belief that I am unlovable. And that belief, I am unlovable, has been my operating system pretty much my entire life. And it was becoming a lot more apparent to me and how like that has played out in my relationships with my parents, my siblings, and my close friends. And admittedly, I do get very anxious when I feel unloved or not supported, and I try very hard to be important in everyone's life to prove that I am easy to love, because my belief is that I am unlovable. So like I will work really hard to prove that actually I'm quite easy to love. So I will in many ways inconvenience myself. I notice that I'm very often just like on guard about other people's emotions, because like if I notice that someone else gets uncomfortable, like I will like jump in and try to fix it. And I just always want everyone to be happy, like not be bothered by anything. And I will gladly be bothered by things so that no one else is bothered. And that becomes a problem because it all like builds up and then I just explode. So something I'm working to. There's a lot to unpack there, of course. I'm still working through how that belief has played out and how I'm like shifting that thought pattern to I am love. Because the truth is, naturally, just me being me, my existence alone as a creation of God's, I am love. But living that out and embodying that truth is a quite different experience for me. Like when my whole life I've believed and have felt that I am so unlovable. And over the spring and summer, like several of my relationships became really strained, like multiple relationships at the exact same time. And it just became so heavy for me. I felt like I had become this emotional tornado and I was just ripping through all of my relationships when really I was just seeking to have connection and closeness with family and friends. But like that desire for connection and trying to like express how I felt so that like everyone could feel good in the relationship just really got villainized. And my desire for closeness and connection like got labeled as like overwhelming and high standards. And I was just like, I don't understand what I'm doing. I just want to like have better connection with the relationships that are in my life. So it was this huge blow up, and I just reached a point where I just wanted to hide. And because like any interaction that I had, it just like seemed to make things worse. So of course, excuse me. So of course I felt like all of it was my fault. So I am working through a lot of this in therapy. The problem is that in therapy, I can only work on myself and I can't fix everyone else. I'm just kidding. Just trying to lighten the mood on a heavy subject, but let me tie this back and make it relevant. Having this belief that I am unlovable, think about how stressful it is to live in that bubble, right? To believe that you are so unlovable that you have to work twice as hard as everyone else just to receive the same amount of love. And to know that you always have to keep your emotions hidden so that no one thinks that you're difficult. You have to make sure that you don't get anyone's way. I actually remember talking to a therapist one time, and he like proposed this scenario. He said, imagine you're crossing the street and there's a bunch of people crossing with you and then opposite. So there's a lot of chaos, right? What is your thought process when you are crossing the street? And I remember my first thought was, well, I don't want to get in anyone's way. And he was like, what? Like, what? You know, like he just was like kind of taken aback that was my first thought. I don't know. I guess other people think of like, I have a direction to get to and I need to like navigate this. But I was just like, well, like, I don't want to like get in anyone's way. So like, let me inconvenience myself, as I always do, to make sure that everyone else is like accommodated for, right? It didn't really occur to me at the time. But yeah, like that is what I always look to do, like make everyone else's life easier so that no one but me is inconvenienced. So imagine your entire life operating from this point of view. Like that is a lot of stress. It's a lot of stress for your nervous system to carry, and never put down because you're always on guard about making sure you don't bother anyone. And you don't think that after years and years and decades of that, like, your nervous system isn't just going to explode. Like, at some point, it's going to, like, break, right? Yeah, like, that is autoimmune disease. Like, that is exactly it. Like, it just overreacts from, like, years of carrying this, right? And for me, like, over the last several years that I started to speak up about all the times that I was overlooked and I wasn't treated fairly, it's caused a lot of disruption in my relationships, because to everyone else, like, everything was always fine. But to me, the weight of looking out for everyone and no one looking out for me just became so heavy. It was a lot. So, yeah, when I started to speak up about it, like, a lot of my relationships have understandably become strained. So, I mean, this is really just like the tip of the iceberg on the conversation of, like, how emotions and the behaviors that we develop from our emotions, or from suppressing our emotions, like, how they show up as disease. And this is the conversation that isn't spoken about at the doctor's office. It isn't spoken about on the side of the internet that says, my body is confused. And it isn't spoken about at the lupus conference or all the health webinars. Why? For the same reason that it gets stored in your body in the first place. It's uncomfortable. It is a lot easier for your brain to deal with a physical symptom than it is to deal with an emotional or social wound. It's super uncomfortable to look at these belief patterns that have shaped your life, because guess what? Like, once you are aware of it, you can't unsee it. And you have to make the decision to continue living that way or change it. And change is hard. But then the decision to stay the same becomes solely yours. And that is a big responsibility to handle. And no one wants to take that on. Like, it's incredibly hard to take that on. So anyways, that was my summer. I told you it was hot. It was hot. On a lighter note, my word for this year has been trust. And more than ever before, I fully trust in my experiences that I had as a child. I trust the feelings that I have around certain people, and I have built so much trust with myself. And again, I'm having trouble recalling the number of that episode of the Remade Life podcast, but it was about how self-trust is key to healing autoimmune disease. And this year has really shown me a deeper level of healing than I ever thought possible. I mean, like, I've been thinking about this actually, about how, like, any time that I, like, reach, like, this new level of, like, understanding my body and healing, I'm like, wow, like, this is it. Like, I have reached the pinnacle of healing. And then there's just, like, more. There's more learning to do, more healing to do. And I am just like, I'd really like to be done with this, like, whole healing thing. Like, I am tired, but, like, this is life. Like, this is discovering yourself. This is a part of it. This is the work that I firmly believe undoes the work that creates autoimmune disease. So we keep going. We keep going, my friends. At the end of summer, I also did a quick little trip to Bluffton, South Carolina with a couple of friends for a study weekend. And then my husband and I also did a little mountain getaway like at the beginning of August. And that was just such a, like, fun, needed weekend. And so, like, now we're here. I think we're all caught up on summer, I think. Oh, one more thing, one more big thing, which is so wild to me. So I made this promise to myself that I would get my nose re-pierced when I hit my financial goal for my business this year. And here we are in September with a new nose piercing. So if you are on YouTube, I don't know if you can see it. It's a little bumblebee. It's super cute. So yeah, I met my financial goal for my business for the year, and I don't know if, like, I just didn't set a high enough goal. Like, I just kind of based it on, like, what I was making, like, monthly at the end of last year. And then, this year has just really surprised me. Like, it's been great. Like, we not only survived, but we thrived at the studio. So that's been really fun to celebrate. So, I actually had my nose pierced in college. My sister paid for it. It was like $20. But when I started doing pageantry after college, I took it out, and then it just kind of closed up. But I wanted to wait until I could afford like a nice fancy ring. So that was my goal, and I wasn't expecting to hit my goal a whole quarter early. So yeah, things are going well for the studio. And honestly, I couldn't have done it without all of you, my wonderful clients that do trust me. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Especially this year when many times I felt like such a fraud for trying to support people in their healing while I was also trying to figure out healing myself. And it was just like, I'm just so appreciative. Like, I truly am. When I think about it, I'm at a loss for words. God really showed me what it means to trust him. Lately, my prayer has been, God, surprise me. And like, it's being done. Like, it's been great. I'm super excited for the rest of this year and next year. I've got some exciting things coming up for Remade Wellness. And as a reminder, if you are not local to Durham, North Carolina, I do also offer online virtual movement sessions. So you can also see me online if you are not local here. Isn't the world so fabulous? The internet, it's wonderful sometimes. All right, well, let's wrap it up there. Summer was hot. Business is thriving. My health is looking good, and relationships are on fire. So can't win them all, right? Well, I truly hope that you all are doing well. I'm so excited to be with my mic. Is it behind the mic? I don't know. I think that's usually like behind the camera. But anyways, excited to be here with my mic again for the fall season of the Remade Life Podcast. So thank you so much for being here. And until next time, my friends, be well.